There's this sound a refrigerator makes when it's running but no one notices it until the power goes out. That humming silence? That's how my marriage felt. A constant background noise I forgot was even there until it suddenly wasn't. I didn't catch her cheating. There were no lipstick stains, no unfamiliar colognes, no cliché hotel keycards. What I caught was colder, quieter, more humiliating somehow. 3 weeks ago, I spent 12 minutes standing in our living room trying to decide whether to throw away a withered houseplant or repot it. 12 minutes. I timed it. Meanwhile, Alana, my wife, sat 10 feet away, scrolling through her phone, laughing at something that wasn't me, wasn't us, wasn't even this life we were supposed to be sharing. She didn't look up once. That's when I realized I had become the houseplant. Neglected. Dry. Still technically alive, but no one cared enough to check. The turning point wasn't explosive. It wasn't loud. It was soft, so soft I almost missed it. I came home from work early with a migraine. The kind where light feels like needles in your skull. I walked through the door, dropped my bag, and saw her by the window with her back to me. She looked tired. I looked tired. I don't even know why I did it. I just walked up and gently put my arms around her waist. She froze. Then, like I'd touched her with something rotten, she turned away. No words. No excuse. Just, away. I felt stupid. Like a man hugging a statue. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I didn't know what else to do. I said sorry. Just wanted to feel close to you for a second. Her response? Nothing. Not even a shrug. I stood there staring at the back of her neck while she scrolled through Instagram stories. That moment? It broke something ancient inside me. Something I didn't even know was still holding on. You know what I did next? I went upstairs and alphabetized my sock drawer. That's not a metaphor. I literally arranged my socks in alphabetical order by brand name. Because when your wife turns away from your touch and you don't have the strength to cry, you do dumb little things to feel like you still have control over anything. That night, she slept facing the wall. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling fan, wondering how many other husbands were pretending everything was fine while quietly unraveling inside. I didn't leave right away. No, I stayed for 12 more days. Why? Because I kept hoping there'd be some kind of signal. A moment where she'd reach for me. Say, I miss you. Even just blink in my direction like I mattered again. Instead, on day 12, she asked if I remembered to buy oat milk. Oat milk. So I left. Packed a duffel bag. Took my toothbrush and a worn-out hoodie she never liked. Wrote her a note that said, you turned away. I noticed. That was it. No drama. No yelling. Just truth. Now I'm writing this from a room with mismatched furniture and a ticking wall clock that sounds louder than it should. I'm not angry. I'm just hollow. Like someone peeled me open and forgot to fill the space back in. This wasn't about betrayal. This was about erasure. And I'm finally starting to ask, if someone stops seeing you, do you still exist in their story? Next time, I'll tell you what I found out after I left, the voicemail, the party I wasn't invited to, the thing her coworker accidentally revealed. I don't even know if I'm ready to write it. But I will. Because if I don't, I'm scared no one will ever know I was here. It took 4 days for her to realize I was gone. That part still messes with me. You'd think, after nearly a decade together, she'd at least notice the silence was different. That the house didn't smell like coffee in the morning because I wasn't making any. That Max, our old rescue mutt, wasn't snoring by the radiator because I took him with me. That the shape of the world had shifted just slightly and it wasn't going to snap back. But no. Day 1? Nothing. Day 2? A text that just said, hey, can you grab more eggs when you're out? Day 3? Total radio silence. It wasn't until day 4 that my phone rang while I was sitting on Milton's dented couch, holding a cup of tea I didn't want and watching a ceiling stain grow darker from a leak I didn't have the energy to report. I didn't answer. I let it ring. I stared at the screen like it was glowing with something radioactive. Then it buzzed again, voicemail. I waited a full hour before listening. And when I did, it wasn't what I expected. No anger. No concern. Just her voice, unusually flat, saying, hey, I guess you're not home. Can you let me know if you took your duffel bag or if it's in the attic or something? I think my passport was in there. I need it for the trip next week. Okay. Thanks. That was it. No, where are you? No, are you okay? No, I miss you. She thought I might have just taken a bag and accidentally left the house like a forgetful roommate. Not her husband. Not the man who sat across from her every Sunday eating pancakes and trying to make her laugh. Just a ghost that used to pay half the utilities. I sat there, clutching the phone so hard my hands started shaking. That passport? The one she was looking for? It was in the junk drawer in the hallway. Had been for months. We both knew that. It wasn't about the passport. It was about pretending not to notice. But that wasn't the only surprise. The next morning, I got a text from Martin. He's a mutual friend, more her friend than mine these days. He works in corporate law and always smells like expensive aftershave. He texted me a group photo from some rooftop party. At first, I didn't even register the faces. Then I spotted her, in the middle, smiling. Radiant. Hair up in a bun, wearing the red dress I bought her for our anniversary 2 years ago. A glass in one hand, the other wrapped around the waist of a guy I didn't recognize. No ring on her finger. No mention that her husband had moved out less than a week ago. Just pure, effortless joy. The caption under the photo was what killed me. Alana looking free. I don't know why Martin sent it. Maybe he didn't realize I wasn't invited. Maybe he assumed I was there and just didn't see me. Or maybe he wanted me to see it. That night, I drank 2 beers and tried to write a reply. I didn't. Instead, I opened the group photo again and stared at her face. Not out of anger. Out of confusion. How had she moved on so easily? How did she go from rolling away from my arms to laughing on a rooftop with strangers like nothing inside her had been rearranged? Then came the final blow, one I wasn't even supposed to hear. Milton was on the phone in the kitchen. He didn't know I was in the hallway, half hidden behind the doorframe, looking for aspirin. He was talking to his sister, Lena. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but once I heard her name, I froze. He said, "No, she's not sad. Honestly, Lena, I think she was planning to tell him after the trip. She just didn't know how to do it without making herself look bad." Lena said something I couldn't make out. Milton replied, "Yeah. I mean, you can't really blame her. He was a sweet guy but, quiet, routine, predictable. He didn't notice the signs. I didn't notice the signs." That line hit harder than anything else. Because deep down, I had noticed. I just kept making excuses for them. I kept watering dead plants, thinking maybe they'd bloom again if I just gave more of myself. I slipped back into my room, closed the door gently, and sat on the floor beside the bed. No tears. Just a strange kind of stillness. Like when the wind dies down before a storm. There's more to tell. A lot more. But tonight I'm just trying to sit with the silence. Because it finally sounds honest. I didn't sleep much after hearing Milton's phone call. I just kept replaying that sentence in my mind. He didn't notice the signs. Like I was some bumbling fool walking through his own life blindfolded while everyone else whispered behind my back, watching my marriage collapse like a slow-motion car crash. It's not just that she pulled away. It's not even that she moved on. It's that I was the last one to know we weren't us anymore. 3 days later, I decided I needed to go back to the house. Not to talk. Not to confront her. I didn't want to shout, cry, or even explain myself. I just wanted to pick up a few things that were still mine. My journals. A hard drive. The sweater my mom knitted me before she passed. Stuff that still meant something in a world where so much had started to feel meaningless. I told Milton I'd only be gone 20 minutes. I even left Max with him because I didn't want the dog to catch any of my nervous energy. That house. I wasn't ready to see it. But I had to. When I pulled up, Alana's car was in the driveway. My stomach sank. I sat in my own car for 5 whole minutes, gripping the steering wheel like it could anchor me. Then I got out and walked to the front door, trying to convince myself that I wasn't scared of my own home. The key still worked. That detail shouldn't have surprised me, but it did. I guess I half expected her to have changed the locks already to erase even that last symbolic connection. I pushed the door open and instantly froze. Laughter. Not hers. Or not hers alone. Male laughter. Deep, loose, relaxed in a way that said, I belong here. The kitchen lights were on. There were wine glasses on the table. Plates. Candles. Real candles. Not the electronic ones we used to joke about being for lazy romantics. I stood there in the hallway watching it unfold like some surreal play I hadn't bought tickets for. He was tall. Well-dressed. A man with perfect posture and a voice that sounded like confidence had been bred into him. Alana sat across from him, leaning forward, smiling the way she used to smile at me when we'd binge old murder documentaries at 1 a.m. Her hand was resting on the table, palm up. His fingers were tracing circles in it. I wasn't angry. I didn't rush in or demand answers. I didn't even breathe too loud. I just turned around and left. She didn't see me. That part matters somehow. Because it meant she wasn't hiding it. Not anymore. Maybe not ever. Back in the car, I just sat there again. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just looked at my own reflection in the rearview mirror and whispered, so this is the truth now. I drove to a 24-hour diner we used to visit when we were broke and 22, pretending a shared milkshake was some grand romantic gesture. I sat in the corner booth, ordered eggs I didn't eat, and tried to make sense of who I'd become. And that's when the waitress walked up to me and said something I didn't expect. "You look like you've been replaced." I blinked at her. She smiled awkwardly, held up her hands. "Sorry. That sounded horrible. I just mean, I've seen that look before. My sister had it for months. Her husband left her for her best friend. She didn't see it coming either." I laughed. I don't know why. Maybe because she'd read my whole soul like a grocery list in 5 seconds. I tipped her too much. Told her I'd write about it someday. I don't think she believed me. I went back to Milton's that night with none of the stuff I came for. Just heavier silence. A new weight in my chest. But that wasn't the end of it. The next morning, Milton left for work and I opened the laptop I hadn't touched in a while. I logged into our old shared Dropbox account to look for a backup of my documents. And there it was. A folder titled Cabo. Inside were 117 photos. Beachside views. Cocktails. Her in sunglasses on a boat. Him shirtless, holding her like they were already engaged. They weren't selfies. Someone else took them. Someone she asked to capture the memory. The metadata said the trip was 4 weeks ago. For weeks. That was before I left. Before I even realized anything had changed. While I was still buying groceries and rubbing her neck because she said she had migraines, she was somewhere with him, toasting sunsets and smiling like she'd found salvation. I stared at one photo for nearly 10 minutes. It was her sitting on a stone wall, the ocean behind her, grinning. That grin, it wasn't fake. It wasn't guarded. It was the most honest expression I'd seen from her in years. And it wasn't for me. That's when it clicked. I didn't lose her. She left a long time ago, I just wasn't important enough to tell. There's a specific kind of ache that comes from realizing you were the side character in your own life. I always thought heartbreak was supposed to feel like a clean slice, sharp, fast, dramatic. But mine came like rust on a fence. Silent, creeping, and worst of all, visible to everyone else except me. After finding the photos from Cabo, I spent most of that day just sitting in Milton's garage with a box fan on and the door halfway open, staring at nothing. I didn't want Max to see me unraveling again, so I pretended to be reorganizing tools while I silently tried to recall every conversation I'd had with Alana in the past 2 months. What did I miss? What did I brush off? When did she start packing her love into suitcases I never saw her carry? That night, I logged onto Facebook for the first time in weeks. I'd avoided it mostly out of instinct. Seeing everyone's perfect curated lives while mine was a dumpster fire didn't seem like good therapy. But curiosity has claws, and mine were digging deep. Her profile was still public. I clicked through. No mention of me. No trace. Our wedding photos? Gone. A video from a friend's wedding, where we danced terribly but joyfully, deleted. Our trip to Vermont last fall? Scrubbed clean. But she had photos from Cabo up now. Just her and friends, she wrote. No tags. No comments from me, obviously. And one caption stuck out. Real happiness doesn't ask for permission. I don't know if that was aimed at me or if it was just some Pinterest quote she liked. But it hurt, because I remembered a night years ago when I asked her to move in with me. We were sitting in a laundromat at midnight, and she told me she felt like happiness was finally safe with me. Now here she was, posting poetic nonsense as if I'd been some cage she finally unlocked. I kept scrolling. Then I saw something that hit me harder than all the rest. A post from her friend Lydia. One of those throwback memories posts. It was a photo of Alana and the guy from Cabo. Tall, polished, smug. Standing way too close to each other at a house party. The date on it? 9 months ago. 9 months. Lydia's caption said, "Hard to believe this night kicked off so much. You two were glowing before it was even official." Official? They were a you two 9 months ago? I stared at that post for a long time. I even clicked through Lydia's profile to see if there were more. There were photos, inside jokes, comment threads between them, hearts, flame emojis, banter, all the things that should have been red flags, if only I'd been allowed to see them. Then it hit me. I wasn't blocked from her profile, but I was definitely removed from the loop. Like everyone had politely decided to let me live in the dark while they toasted her freedom behind my back. That night I called Evan. Evan was the only one of our friends I still trusted. We met through work, grabbed beers after long shifts, and even took a failed road trip to Maine once when we both had a midlife panic at the same time. When he answered, I didn't waste time. Did you know? I asked. A long pause. I heard him sigh. Then, yeah. Since when? Another pause. She told me in March. It was July. She swore she'd talk to you. I didn't want to get in the middle, Ernie. I didn't know how to. I hung up. Not out of rage. Just done. Like when the last drop of water falls from the faucet and you realize the pipe's been dry for hours. I sat in the kitchen with the lights off. Just me and Max. He kept resting his head on my knee like he could feel my chest caving in. I whispered to him, "How many people knew before I did?" And he just blinked. There's a strange freedom in hitting rock bottom. You stop trying to make sense of things. You stop rehearsing comebacks in the shower. You stop pretending you'll wake up and it'll all be a bad dream. I knew I couldn't keep floating in limbo, so I made a list. A stupid list on a yellow legal pad. 1. Get my stuff back. 2. Close the joint bank account. 3. Call a lawyer. 4. Tell her I know. That last one, I wasn't ready for yet, but it was on the list. Promise to myself. Because I wasn't going to just disappear like a mistake. I needed her to know that I saw her now. I saw everything. And maybe, just maybe, she'd feel a fraction of the hollowness she carved into me. There's this strange thing that happens when your world collapses. You begin to pay attention to things you used to ignore. A crooked picture frame. The way someone exhales before they lie. Even the hum of a phone on a countertop begins to carry weight, like it's vibrating with all the things they won't say out loud. I had become a man built out of observations, assembling a truth no one had the courage to hand me directly. The legal pad with my to-do list sat on Milton's kitchen counter for 3 full days before I touched it again. I stared at it every morning. Sometimes I picked it up and ran my finger under that last line. Tell her I know. Felt like a dare I didn't have the guts to accept. But things changed the morning Milton's girlfriend showed up. Her name's Carly. She's the kind of person who calls you Han, even if she's never met you, and brings banana bread that tastes like therapy. She hadn't been over since I moved in. Apparently, Milton told her I needed space. But that morning she came in unannounced, set the bread on the counter, and said, "I know you don't want to talk, Ernie, but I think you deserve to hear something." I froze. She was calm, but her voice had this edge to it, like she was balancing on a wire between compassion and guilt. She leaned on the sink and said, "I overheard something back in May. I didn't think it was my place to tell you then, but now? I think it would eat me alive if I stayed quiet." She looked straight at me and said, "Alana was at a dinner. Fancy place. Downtown. I was there with a client, 2 tables over. She didn't see me. I didn't speak. Just nodded once, urging her to go on. There were 3 people at her table, her, that guy from the Cabo pictures, and some older woman. I couldn't hear everything, but what I caught was enough. She was talking about you. Laughing, but not in a cruel way. Just dismissive. Detached. Like you were someone she used to rent a room from, not someone she married. I clenched my jaw. Carly noticed and softened her tone. She said something like, "He's comfortable, you know? Reliable." I needed that for a while. And then she said, "But I can't waste my 30s on beige. I want vivid now." Beige. That word shattered something in me. All those quiet gestures. All those long nights I'd held her when she cried over work. All the love letters, anniversary playlists, stupid inside jokes. We were beige. Carly stepped closer, resting her hand on the counter between us. "I didn't want to break your heart, but I also didn't want to protect someone who already shredded it." I thanked her. I think I did. I can't remember. My ears were ringing like someone had just smacked the side of my head. Beige. Later that evening, I drove to the old park near our house. The one where Alana and I used to walk Max after dinner before she got too tired or had too much work. I sat on the same bench where she once told me she felt safe with me. And I realized something horrible. Maybe she only ever stayed because I made life easy. Predictable. Padded. And once she healed from whatever wounds she brought into our marriage, she decided she didn't need the cushion anymore. I wasn't love. I was recovery. I didn't want revenge. That's never been me. But I wanted clarity. I needed to stop living in the echoes of what I thought we were and confront what we actually became. So I opened my phone, scrolled to her contact, and stared at the screen. I didn't call. I didn't text. I just sat there holding the weight of that decision in my hand. And then fate, or something worse, made the next move for me. My phone buzzed. It was a voicemail, not from Alana. From Lydia. The same Lydia who posted that photo months ago. Her voice was slurred, clearly drunk. Ernie, hey. I know I shouldn't be calling, but I just want to say I'm sorry. You didn't deserve to be left out like that. We all knew. Well, not everything, but enough. Alana said you wouldn't understand. That you'd turn it into a pity party. I didn't want to pick sides, but yeah. I guess I did. I hope you're okay. You were always the nicest one. Even when you weren't noticed. Even when you weren't noticed. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I crossed off 3 things on my list. I closed the joint account. I got a lawyer. And I booked a storage unit. I wasn't going back to the house until I had a plan. But I was done living like a man trying not to disturb the dust. And Alana? She still hadn't called. Not once. Not even a half-hearted "Are you okay?" message. Because she knew. She knew the silence was safer than anything she could say. But she wasn't done surprising me yet. Because just when I thought I had seen it all, I opened our shared email and found something that made my blood turn cold. A reservation. A vacation booking. 2 tickets. First class. Departure date, next week. The passenger names? Her and me. She booked it months ago. And never told me. I stared at that reservation email for over an hour. My eyes kept going back to the names, hers and mine, listed side by side like everything was normal. Like I was still part of her plans. Like the life she was planning to build didn't already have someone else in it. First class, non-refundable, 5 nights at a boutique hotel on an island we used to dream about when we were broke and sharing a studio apartment with a leaky faucet. I remembered her telling me once, someday, when we're not scrambling to survive, I want to wake up to ocean air with you. And here it was, that dream, printed neatly in an itinerary, and I had never even been told about it. At first, I thought maybe it was a mistake. An old booking she forgot to cancel. Something from before everything crumbled. But the departure date was just days away. She booked it after Cabo. After the rooftop parties. After the dinners with him. It was like I was part of a plan that had already been repurposed. And no one bothered to inform me I'd been demoted from husband to placeholder. I forwarded the email to myself. Then I stared at the reply button, wondering what kind of message I'd even send. Something scathing? Cold? Or just the truth? Raw and pitiful? In the end, I did nothing. Just left it there in my inbox like a grenade without a pin. That night, I did something I hadn't done in years. I opened my old laptop and found the video files from our early days together. Alana and I had this habit of filming little clips of our days during the first year of marriage. Stupid things. Cooking disasters. Singing in the car. Her waking me up by putting ice cubes down my shirt. I clicked through them, one after the other, watching her laugh and love and lean into me like I was the only thing holding her upright. It didn't feel like watching home videos. It felt like watching a documentary about a species that had gone extinct. And then, tucked in a folder I'd forgotten existed, I found a file labeled Spring Plan. I opened it. It was a voice memo, just audio, dated back in February. It was her voice. She was whispering. Okay, so the idea is, I tell him in April, give it a couple of months before I move out. Book the trip with his name on it so it doesn't raise any alarms. Then just go. Maybe leave a note. I don't know. I'm not heartless. I just can't. I can't do beige forever. There it was again. Beige. That damn word. She planned it all. I wasn't an accident. I was a chess piece. A logistical detail she needed to manipulate long enough to avoid confrontation. She wasn't struggling to figure out what to say. She had a timeline. A script. I wasn't witnessing a spontaneous collapse of love. I was watching a scheduled demolition. I didn't sleep. Again. But this time not out of sadness. Something had shifted. The grief was still there, but it had changed color. Darker. Sharper. I wasn't crying on the bathroom floor anymore. I was just vibrating with a kind of quiet clarity. I needed to see her. Not to scream. Not to accuse. Just to stand there with the truth between us. Raw and unedited. She had stolen my voice by replacing my presence with silence. And now I was ready to reclaim it. So I went to the house the next afternoon. No warning. No text. I parked on the street, heart pounding like a drum in my throat. The front steps felt taller than I remembered. My hand shook when I reached for the doorknob. It was unlocked. Inside, everything was clean. Too clean. Like she had wiped away any trace of me. New throw pillows. A vase I'd never seen before. Even Max's old dog bed was gone. It was like I'd been erased. And then I heard footsteps. She walked out of the hallway, holding a folder, probably from her office, and froze when she saw me. Her lips parted,